Hello, my name is Visklugers and welcome to Armored Warfare, and today we have news about the upcoming patch 0.13, and the patch is supposed to go live 11th of February in North America and European servers, which is not too far off, and I think that's fantastic. So probably the biggest difference that will right pop in your face is that there will be a new dealer tree in the game. It's gonna be the third dealer tree in, and it'll be pretty much Chinese or Asia themed tree. And with that we'll get 7 new vehicles. They're all, I believe they are all main battle tanks, and pretty much every single one of them is a Chinese vehicle, starting at Tier 3 all the way to Tier 8, with a 1 premium vehicle at Tier 5. So it's pretty standard. So the Tier 3 is like a regular Type 59. So we've already seen the Type 59 Legend. So I believe the Type 59 will be pretty much exactly the same, fully upgraded as the Type 59 Legend. And then we have Type 69-2, Type 80-2, Type 85-2M, Type 90-2, Type 98, and the premium WZ1224. So a lot of these vehicles do look quite similar to each other, which is, I think, like, it's very realistic. I think a lot of the Chinese tanks do look very the same, in exception of the like really modern tanks that they start to look like they start to leave that early Type T-54 model away and start to go more like the route that the Abrams and the Leopard and so forth, you know, like classical modern tanks look like. So I don't know, but I would predict that these vehicles probably work quite similarly to the Soviet or Russia main battle tanks that are already in the game in the Shishkin tree. I don't know, but I would think, because they're technically copies or like early copies of the same because they are like technically copies of the early models of the Soviet tanks. So yeah, we'll have to see. We're gonna see how closely they resemble that. And then we will be having a new map, which is nice. There's no mention if it's gonna be only on PvP or PvE. Probably both, because there's no mention of it. And it's a decently sized 1,200 equals 1,200 meters, so it's pretty big map. And it's supposed to have quite much open areas as well as urban areas, so it's gonna be interesting what they have come up with that. What I feel like is the most welcome change is the PvE reward system overhaul that I already made a video about, and I will not go too deeply about that in this video, but in general idea, the PvE has had quite rough time actually gaining a good amount of profit in every game. You do get profit in every game, but it's quite lowish profit, so that should be fixed and you should be getting a lot more profit every single game. And the PvP will get a slight around 10% experience boost, which will be very, very nice indeed. And then we get the Matchmaker 2.0, which should fix some problems that they had in the previous Matchmaker, or what we currently still have. One of being that the other team might get a platoon of high tier vehicles and the other team might not get as high vehicles at all. And I have had a couple of games like that, even though I play very rarely PvP, and it just results every single time in a very, very predictable landslide victory for the team that, just has flat out better vehicles. So good thing that will not be a problem in the future anymore. And then we have some retrofit and commander changes so that you do not have to play artillery in order to unlock certain commanders and certain retrofits. So these will be transferred to to existing vehicles so that you can get it either on the artillery or in the other vehicles if you feel so. And I think that is something that is welcome, because not all people love to play artillery. I kinda have it mixed. Sometimes it's kinda nice, but sometimes it's just the worst. So I feel like it's very, very welcome indeed that you don't have to grind through the artillery if you don't want to. But if you do enjoy artillery, you can still get those retrofits and commanders by doing that the old-fashioned way. And then we have in general some balances about all sorts of different statistics that I will not go too deeply into. But overall, I think this is a very, 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 very good patch, because, the Matchmaker 2.0 and the PvE reward system overhaul alone is something that I feel like is more than enough to make a really good patch. And they're also adding a new line of vehicles into the game and doing all sorts of small fixes and stuff like that. And that is just amazing. We'll have to see how the new map looks. From the screenshots, it does look very nice indeed, but we'll have to see in game later on. I guess it's a little bit disappointing that there's only main battle tanks in the new dealer tree, but I feel like it would be ridiculously odd if they would add like only tier 1, 2, 3 and 4 vehicles, and you could easily go grind all of them through in a matter of weeks, and then you wouldn't have anything to do with them. So I guess it does make sense to have one line of vehicles complete. And we'll most likely see light tanks or tank destroyers, armored fighting vehicles, whatever, in the future. And that is something that I'm really looking forward into, because in the trailer, I really got the idea that this is most likely going to be Chinese-only vehicles, but earlier on some of the posts and threads that I have read, they pretty much said that it's going to be Asian vehicles. So we'll have to see if there's like only Chinese or maybe some other Asian country vehicles as well. But the interesting thing is that there is not a single tier 1 or 2 vehicle added in this dealer's tree. So it might be that it's not gonna be for some time a full-fledged tree, and it might never have tier 1s and 2s. It probably will, but it might not have. Because as of now, to unlock these new dealers' tanks, you have to have kinda certain requirements. It's probably quite small requirements, but you have to do in PvP or PvE damage to enemies that are within 150 meters of another friendly vehicle, which is very interesting thing indeed, that you kinda can't just go on and grind them, because you kinda have to quote unquote earn yourself the ability to unlock the Type 59 and then go onward to Type 69 and so on and so on. And I think that's a really nice way to do it. Because personally, I wouldn't mind at all if Armored Warfare would have more like tank trees that would maybe start on tier 3 or 4 or even on 5. Similarly to the Chieftain Mark 5, because I feel like it kind of gives you, well, it kind of skips a little bit, and the early game is, you know, it's something that you kind of used to learn how the game works and so forth. So I feel like for players that, you know, have grinded to, let's say, tier 8 or above or whatever, they don't probably want to play so much in tier 2 or 1 or 3. I feel it makes sense that, you know, now I can, you know, by playing in high tiers, unlock something at tier 5 or 4. It's somehow, for me, it clicks just the right way and it just works. I think that is something that they could take more advantage of. They might be thinking that, yeah, we'll fill the slots later, but I think it's a really neat idea, and they necessarily do not need to fill the gaps. Yeah, maybe fill the gap between the Chieftain Mark 5 and the Challenger 1 at their tier 6 vehicle, but you know, you don't need to put tier 4s and 3s necessarily. I think it would be a really nice way to kind of have more modern tanks and not just have a huge bunch of variations of a single tank. Because, you know, for instance, that we have Object 155, we have a Type 59, we have Type 59 Legend, we have Object 430, and they're not the same vehicle, except the Type 59 and the Legend version, but I mean, they are so similar that I wouldn't want the Armored Warfare to go to a route that there's just, even on the same tier, like 7 tanks that are almost carbon copies of each other. I just enjoy personally the feeling that, you know, there's as much variety as possible. But, you know, I guess there's nothing stopping them for putting a lot of the same. But that's one of the problems that I kinda had with World of Tanks that burned me off. Because they started to have so much same vehicles. There's so many like variants of the Soviet vehicles in the Chinese tree, and there's quite a lot of, and there's just German tanks that are also Czechoslovakian tanks, and you know, it's actually another way around. But you know what but you probably get what I mean. And it just feels like the unique flavor is gone. It's no longer there. And I don't think in Armored Warfare they have to do that, because they have implemented this great system which can prevent the same vehicles kind of from appearing. Of course, you know, you can have like a multiple versions of a set vehicle, but I feel like those versions should still be quite far from each other. Like the Leopard 1 and Leopard A5 is kinda pushing it for me. Because, yeah, they kind of function a bit differently, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much more of the same, really. But yeah, now, enough of that. I'm really looking into patch 0.13, looking fantastic. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next video.